You can see that here on the picture behind me. I have a hoodie on. It says, I love tech and data. And I really believe that this picture proves that I'm willing to take that message anywhere. Actually, it also means for me, being a nerd, that I see IT-related abbreviations everywhere. For instance, my initials are SDK, and I didn't use them, right? But I really think it's nice that they mean something great in the IT context. So is there anyone in the audience that knows what SDK stands for? You? Yeah, exactly. Software development kit. So a collection of software tools to enable development. So pretty nice term. And my wife's initials are MB. So Mike Bravo. And it wasn't a selection criteria, but it's what they are. So what does MB mean? Megabyte, exactly. So, sorry? That will come later. That's a later conversation. So basically, I also managed to put all this nerdiness together and embed this in a poem that I wrote for my wife. And I'm going to share that with you, whether you like it or not. So this is how it goes. Our love is a function, pure and versatile. Accepts our quirks, yet returns a tender smile. While life throws us exceptions, we will embrace and handle errors with a programmer's grace. You and I are like an open source project, shared, nurtured, and cherished with respect. No conflicts or forks can keep us apart. Our love is a well-tested work of art. We will iterate, improve, and collaborate. A partnership that is bound to captivate. Together, pair programming side by side. Your software development kit and my mega bride. Well, for all of you that don't know what went wrong here, I guess I have to say greetings, fellow nerds. But I'm going to share with you a very powerful lesson. And that is that on a wedding day, and probably on any other day, you have to be very careful when to use the mega prefix to describe your wife. Especially when she is 8 months pregnant. So, now you know a little bit about me personally. I'm also tech lead for the area data science within Rabobank. And we build all kinds of machine learning solutions for the entire bank and for the millions of customers that we have. And what we learned is that building machine learning solutions at scale is really difficult. And that's why Jurrit and I are here to talk to you about why it's difficult and what you can do about it. Also, thanks a lot to Xebia for having us. And we're going to try to make this an entertaining and also educational 20 minutes. That's the conversation for at the bar, I think. But with no further ado, here's Jurrit.
Yep, thanks, Stijn. A little bit about myself. I don't have this introduction like Stijn has, but I live in Biezenmortel, a very small town in the south of the Netherlands, near Tilburg and Den Bosch, in a nice farmhouse. I live there with my girlfriend and my son. And we're currently trying to create a food forest in our backyard. And that's a lot of hard work, digging and so on. But really worthwhile. And luckily, Rabobank is providing me during the week some time off to relax behind my laptop and recover from all the hard physical labor. And when I'm not doing that, I really enjoy skiing holidays. Before continuing, so Stijn and I are tech leads within Rabobank. And to give a bit of an understanding what that actually means, we are responsible for our IT teams, staffing, getting to work properly, and really drive an engineering culture. We're also responsible for the products that they deliver and build, especially in operation. That needs to be working, secure, and so on. And in that context, we do that for data science, and we do that. I do that for analytics platform. So in that sense, we think we can say something about this topic of machine learning and scaling it. About the bank, Rabobank and also many organizations want to be data-driven. That means using the data available in the organization to make that part of your processes, part of your decision making, doing that automated, not just getting an Excel or a PowerPoint somewhere, really part of your value delivery. But especially within banking, there is no room for any risk taking. Security needs to be in order. We need to be compliant and show to auditors what we are doing. So that's a big challenge and a lot of work. So bringing machine learning model into the equation and become this data-driven bank is a big challenge. I'm curious to see in this group who is actually using their own machine learning models and into production in the organization. I already saw one. Not a lot of people. Okay. And is it also really in production? So really in your processes and really part of the day-to-day operations? A bit. It's already going down. So we had a view and now it's going down. Okay. Well, hopefully you can learn something today on how this will come, how we will achieve that better. This is a picture I use in my presentations within the bank to explain a bit of the journey that we had. This was my introduction to this challenge with data scientists creating models and wanting to put it in production. That's already years ago, but it's still really good learning. So it's not a failure, it's a learning experience where we went from wanted to go from this, encountered this very rocky road or difficult bridge to cross, where we had expected this really nice road to production. And so the data scientist team came to my IT teams. Hey, we developed a new model that's really going to give us more insight in our customers, and we really want to put it in production. They went through all the data selection, building, selecting the right model, testing it, the full review and validation steps. And now here you go. And my team said, well, what? And so the whole infrastructure that they used to create these models was not suitable for production. So we had to start totally from scratch, build new infrastructure, recode the model, get the data sources from a production source instead of a testing source. And basically at the end, I also had to go through the whole validation process and security checks and so on. And it turned out there were differences in the output of the model in production and in the testing about it. So it all started again, triggering a whole rework and a whole revalidation and development process. And basically many years later, and a lot of investment later, it's still not being used in that new environment. So this gave us an opportunity to learn a lot about how this actually works. But first, maybe some few questions for you. For the few people who actually use machine learning, can you get it in production in a year, from idea to really using it? You with your hand up? In a week? Interesting. Then we talk during lunch. But a lot of people didn't show their answer, but do you think you will be using these kind of technologies like machine learning and models, maybe Gen AI, in the coming years in your organization in these kind of processes? Okay, I see more nodding and hands. Thank you. Did you hear about a new regulation? So for financial services, we have DORA, Digital Operations Resilience Act, and the EU AI Act. Yeah, I see there's some nodding. Did you read it? No, me neither. We have good teams working on that, figuring out what's the impact. But it will be, so we are going to add more of this kind of technology, but it's adding more and more complexity. Already on the complexity and all the constraints that we have in a bank. So that's a big challenge. So that was our question, how do we scale it? What happened? And our answer is basically, what we try to present today is the introduction of end-to-end teams. And that's Stijn going to talk about, and the usage of platforms supporting those teams. So, Stijn?
Thanks, Jurrit. Yeah. So this is one of the solutions, right? Transformation to end-to-end teams. But it also introduces new questions, right? So what is an end-to-end team actually? And how do we get there? How do we get from where we are now to end-to-end teams? And also in the context of this event, what's the role from leadership in this transition? First to start, what is an end-to-end team? I think basically we want to make sure that they can resolve data science and engineering-related challenges together. So basically they have all the capabilities needed to take total ownership, end-to-end ownership of a product during its entire life cycle. So that means ideation, and we also saw it in the previous presentation, ideation, design, engineering, testing, deployment, and also maintaining it, of course. But I can understand this might also still be a little bit fake, so I have a video for you. You already saw a little bit of it during the testing, and I'm very curious to see who recognizes this.
In 1972, a crack commando unit was sent to prison by a military court for a crime they didn't commit. These men promptly escaped from a maximum security stockade to the Los Angeles underground. Today, still wanted by the government, they survive as soldiers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team.
I'll stop it here. So, who of you remembers the A-Team and saw it a lot? Oh, lots of hands. Yeah, very glad to see that. So for me too, it was one of the greatest series when I was young. It was repeated over and over again on television before we had streaming. So, basically, every episode started with an introduction. You just heard it. It's a team of rogue commandos, and they are now soldiers of fortune. And the essence is here, right? So if you have a problem, if you have no one else who can help, and if you can find them, then maybe you can hire the A-Team. When I was looking at this, I thought there were a lot of ifs and a lot of maybes, right? So, very curious to hear that. But of course, it does seem like a team that can really fix problems, right? And solve things end to end. And also why I think then the A-Team is such a good example, a great example of an end-to-end team. I think it comes down to these things. The first one is cross-functional skills. You have a lot of team members like Hannibal, he's a strategic mastermind. You have Face, he is the charmer and the hustler of the team. Then you have B.A. Baracus, who is the muscle and the master engineer. You have Murdoch, who is the, little bit crazy pilot, right, that you have in the team. You have Amy, who is the journalist and also the liaison to the outside world. So it's a really cross-functional team. Also, they have a lot of autonomy, right? So they're very independent in what they do and how they solve problems. Also a very important part. Also self-sufficiency, right? So to be autonomous, it really helps if you have all the cross-functional skills, but that also means that you can just decide whatever approach you want to take. And that you are not relying on other people before you can take a certain step or take a certain approach. Also collaboration and communication, right? So, of course, it's a bunch of a very diverse group of characters, right? So, and they also are not agreeing on everything, but when it matters, they communicate really well. So they are really able to make sure that they are talking about the same goals and that everybody is aligned to what they are expecting. And also this one, it sounds a little bit weird maybe, customer-centric approach. Of course, they're always helping people, so they really have to analyze what's the problem here and how can we give a tailored solution for that. And I think all these 5 things that are now mentioned come together in adaptability. They're really great in adapting, willing to learn, being open about things that didn't go right. And then, of course, also changing their course or changing their approach. But this is not even the best fact about the A-Team, right? Because everybody knows who this is, I hope, if you know the A-Team. This is B.A. Baracus, right? So does anybody know which actor is playing this role? Mr. T, right? So basically the A-Team already know that you need T-shaped people for a great team before it was even popularized, right? So yeah, that was pretty amazing. So now we know, okay, what's an end-to-end team? So how can we build end-to-end team? That's then the next question. The first part is really to integrate the mindsets and the skill sets of data scientists and engineers. Data scientists are more focused on getting value out of data in the here and now, and engineers are more focused on the long-term scalability, maintainability, quality of the solution, at least in our experience. That was an important part. Eliminate rewriting of code. Jurrit just explained. We were just having a solution, then we had to rewrite it because IT said, okay, this is not production ready, we're going to redo it all over again. We wanted to eliminate that, but that also required that data scientists really up their skill in writing production level code. And also from the engineering side, they really had to understand the impacts that the changes had on the statistical side of things. That's eliminating rewriting code. And of course, we also automated a lot with MLOps. So that really helped us speed up the deployment process and also made sure that we got continuous feedback on monitoring the solution that we were running. And also it gave, because of the automation, it gave the teams a lot of more time to really create value. So now we know what is an end-to-end team. Also, we know how we can get there in very short steps, of course, but also what's our role as leaders to support this transition. And the first thing is really hire or grow within your organization the right people. And we really not only need great data scientists and engineers, but they also need to really adopt the mindset of taking total ownership of the solution, the product that they are building. And we were really helped there by the wave of MLOps, right? So data scientists really wanted to see their models going from the lab into production. And also engineers really wanted to learn, okay, what's all the stuff that's going on there from the data science side. The second is nurture a culture of trust. And so if you have to collaborate and learn from each other, you also have to be open about the things that you don't know within a team and able to ask for help. So that was a very important one. We were kind of worried that after so many years of throwing things over the wall, this was a bit difficult, but actually there was a lot of energy in doing this. The last one is support teams in their journey. Transformations also take time. So we also really had to align with stakeholders and with POs that this was an investment that we had to do, but really a very effective investment. So now what are the results of this? First one is lead time went from months to weeks. For us, that's really huge. Machine learning solutions could go to production in months instead of years. Sometimes we could even do it in weeks. And again, for us, you just explained it, that's huge. Also, we saw a lot of engagement in people. So also willing to take this full ownership. That was also something really great to see. Also in the surveys that we did, people got really engaged in this setting. And we did all of this while retaining control over risk, compliance, and also quality. But, right, there's always a but. Coming back to this one, so if you have a problem, if you have no one else that can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A team. Well, that's the problem for us, right? Especially at scale. And we can't find them at scale, and we can't also hire them at scale. So building A teams with A team members is very difficult. So we really have to think about, okay, how can we support this with the people that we have and with the people that we can find? And we believe that platforms is a very important, actually an essential solution to that. And Jurrit is going to tell you why and how.
Yeah, thanks. In the coming 7 minutes, or maybe less if we have room for questions. So I'll try to not to rush. No, but indeed, so that experience that we had years ago, that triggered moving to more end-to-end teams, but simultaneously it triggered creating platforms. And because that's really necessary to make these teams work. Otherwise, they have the problem that they need to build their own infrastructure every time they go through a new product, bring it to production. And that's really nice. It's a nice also DevOps team in principle that they can do it themselves. But it is not scalable, as Stijn already mentioned. And then if you can imagine within Rabobank, it's not just one team doing this. So only in our area, it's around 18 teams. And in the whole of the bank, I don't even know. It's so many people. So we need to make that work at scale. And by taking away all that infrastructure work and everything that comes with it on security and audits and so on by the platform, those teams can really focus on creating value and the things that we want as a data-driven team, enterprise. So, what is a platform? Well, first of all, it's a self-service and a combination of tools, APIs, documentation, knowledge, everything that comes with it. But it is really all supporting those teams. And for me, also a key part of it is that we approach it as an internal product, and that we have a product vision on it. We have product managers running it. It's not just a bunch of features that we try to create, or we try to create new infrastructure and create the old issue of having an infrastructure group dictating how things work, and then trying to develop something. So it's really with and for our users. And these kind of platforms are everywhere. You are using AWS, Google Cloud, Azure, whatever, Databricks, or can be anything. But that's not enough for what we're trying to do. We need to build on top of those kind of platforms. So that brings to a couple of principles that we try to think of when thinking about these platforms. One, as I mentioned, it should enable our teams. So the end-to-end teams should be enabled to do their research, get their data, go to production. Everything is needed there. So it's the complete part to speed up the delivery process. It should also evolve with these users. It's not static. So we don't do this once, get a nice design and build it, and that's it. We keep on evolving with their needs. There are new groups within the bank joining these platforms. They have different expectations, different technology where they're coming from, different needs. It's a work in progress, and we are doing that not in isolation. We're doing that in a collaborative way with those teams, really trying to understand what they are trying to do. And embrace, and that's about the platform strategy. We're doing this on top of Azure or AWS. We have a lot of other platforms and technology within the organization. Use that and build on it, and not trying to build something new again. Otherwise, we're still spending way too much time and effort. What are we focusing on at the moment? So that's our data platform for machine learning, having data available with the right quality, governed, able to do see the lineage of data, everything that comes with it is kind of key. And getting all the data available in the right source to be used in production is a huge challenge and takes a lot of time in the organization. Secondly, you need a safe place to be able to develop, and it needs to be really shut off of the outside world. We don't want any innovations getting out, but it also needs to be aligned with what you're going to do in production. So in the past, you did a lot of experimentation, new technologies, very fun to do for those teams, but it's not going anywhere. So how do you still create an environment where you can experiment, but also provide the right tools to go to production? And then we have the model surfing part. So instead of having the end-to-end teams build their own ops and own production environment, we want to provide them a platform where they can run it. They don't have to do all the security tests again or the auditing again. It's done by the platform. And is that successful for us? Yes. It's a good approach. But also no, because it's still a lot of work in progress. So we are definitely not there yet. For example, for the model surfing, a lot of teams created their own platform or production environment. Now they need to start using our platform. And that's about, again, trust and having the right capabilities in it and really showing that this is a better solution than do it on your own. So that's a work in progress for us. Also there, what we try to do in the conversation, I have a pop-up. Sorry. Keep on focusing on the ease of use. And so that's also self-service. And when we discuss with the users of the platforms, it should be easy. It should be really compelling. I want to use your platform and keep on evolving in that way. Transparency. If you build your own infrastructure, you know what's going wrong, what's happening, you're in control. How do you make sure that you are in control, that you understand what's happening on on the platform, in your project? Where are we going? What kind of features are we adding? All that conversation needs to be going. And it's a shared responsibility. It's not that old situation that we say, here's the handover, the platform fixes everything. No, we have to do it together. So we are getting there and we are scaling. So currently on the new lab environment, there are 150 projects in development. Multiple projects are already going live or gone live on the serving platform. The data platform is basically the place to be if you do something with data. So it's really going there. The next steps are making it one whole. So not separate platforms that you need to connect on, but one experience for our users trying to achieve something with their data. So looking back, we had those challenges years ago, that learning experience that we had. I think we're really tackling it. The end-to-end teams were a big achievement for us and a big change. That the platform approach is really helping and really looking good for the future. So that's it. I'm really curious to hear if there are any questions. Thank you.